who is developing his willpower, who is developing his mental capacity, and it's coming out of that. So that's what Vasishtha is trying to teach Rama, that all the powers that you want to have, you can have if you work at it. He is giving a great discussion of Paurusha. Paurusha, it's a sexist word in some sense. Purusha means a man, and Paurusha is the power of man, the capacity of a man. But like English word also, it's used in a generic sense. It's the power of a person, you might say. And so after this king dies, then they decide that they wanted to go back. See this other king, the one who is still lying in state in the original palace. So Saraswati says, well, the older Leela, who is still there, she says, yeah, you go ahead. You follow your husband who is killed. You follow him back to that place. And she tells the second Leela that we will go back the way we came. And so then the second Leela asks, how come you let her travel with her body? You made me leave my body in my bedroom. You said you have to take your spirit form. How come she can go with the body? Again, the answer comes because by the time you ask me questions and ask my bones, you had elevated yourself. You had desired a spiritual release. You hadn't desired a material release. And therefore, you were eligible to follow the spiritual path. This older Leela was only believed in the bodies. So she hadn't grown to that level. And let's not forget, these are the same person in a sense. So the same person at the same time, in the same space, can have different incarnations, so to speak. I haven't seen a story like this anywhere else. In fact, I was also telling somebody else another story from the same one, which is a lot more illustrative of the whole idea. So right in the beginning where I talked about a dream and the real state, there is a distinction. So there is the story of somebody named Jivata. He was a bhikshu, and he decided for a change to see how the other world lives. He tried to live like an ordinary person, a household person. And he took the form, went, started living, and then after work he took a nap, started dreaming. So in the dream he started experiencing that maybe he was a king. It's a long story. It's called Shatarudriya. So 100 lives, and he's supposed to go through 100 different cycles. So he starts dreaming that he is a king and has some experience of that life. He goes to sleep, and now he starts dreaming that he is actually he starts dreaming he is an apsara in the heaven. So what's happening is in each of his life, he is this person is trying to think what is it that he likes the best, and whatever he likes the best is in his dream he starts that life, whatever his best life is. So among other things, at one spot he becomes a deer, and then this deer of course goes to sleep, and what would he be reincarnated as? What do you think the deer likes the best? He likes the leaves of this favorite vine. So he becomes a vine. And what does this vine like? When it goes in a dormant state, it has flowers, and this bee is coming to suck the nectar from the flower. So the vine thinks, I want to be the bee. And so it turns into a bee. So quite often this idea of reincarnation, the rebirth, is described in terms like sin and virtue and so on. If you get a lower life, you must have done something bad in the past life. This story says that's not necessarily true. It has nothing to do with good or bad. You may get a fancy to some kind of life. You may want to experience something, Well, if you do experience it, you form yourself into that stage. Many times when there are religious discussions going on, you see that there are different religions in the world. Each one has its own concept of what is hell and what's heaven and what's afterlife and so on. Personally, I believe that what Vedanta is telling us is that for that specific person, the afterlife that he or she is imagining is the reality. It's not that my dream or my expectation of afterlife has to match somebody else's expectation. All of us have independent chit, independent powers to forge our future. So if you believe that you are going to heaven, you will. You will make your own heaven, even if it's not there. Or if it's the hell, so be it. So if you are trying to imagine a heaven or hell, be careful. Do something that's really good for you and not just going to punish you or going to cause you problems. Because whatever you wish will come true. Maybe I'll stop here and go on to answer questions or discussions. Is that okay? So,
is the book available?
Yoga Vasishtha?
Yeah.
Yes, it's very much available. There is one good English translation of it, and it is called Vasishtha's Yoga or Yoga of Vasishtha, something like that. It is published by Motilal Banarsidass and translation by some Venkatesh something. I have VS as the short form of his name. And your town is fortunate to have the South Asia books. I'm sure they have it. Now, I personally had that book for a long time. I didn't bother reading it because it had no Sanskrit in it. And I don't trust anybody's translation, including my own. And I'm not, I mean, even if I have made a translation, when I look at it again, I might see a different shade of meaning. So ultimately I got a Sanskrit book. So there are Sanskrit books also available. As far as the precision of the Sanskrit book is concerned, there is a very old edition by Nirnay Sagar Press. Oh, very old means 1917, something like that. That one is luckily available on the internet as a scanned version. Also, fortunately, it is reprinted by Munshi-Ram Manohar Lal, and that's also available. That was printed in the 80s. And it has a Sanskrit commentary on it, which is not extensive, but it's helpful. Online, there is a group which discusses Yoga Vasishtha, and I'm involved with it, of course. There are two people in that group who are trying to make new translations. One of them is a Canadian. He goes by the name Jivadas. His name is Fletcher, I think. But he doesn't want that name mentioned. So he is trying to make a poetic translation of Yoga Vasishtha. But unfortunately, I don't think he's getting the original meaning right. There is a Russian lady who just became a Swamini. She got a formal degree, formal diksha of that in this summer. She is trying to do it in Russian. There are some German projects to try and create a critical edition and so on. This book has gone through many incarnations, in the sense some people have abridged it. It's a huge book, it's some 30,000 verses. If you compare it with Mahabharata, it's a third of Mahabharata in size, just this one book. And so, and it's expansive, it's poetic. When the occasion to describe something comes in, the poet kind of goes off, has a lot of fun. The book declares that it was written by Valmiki himself, because it's a story of Rama. It's called Maharamayana. So anyway, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, you have pointed out why you do not trust
My translation, yes.
translations. Now, could you give one example of the translated verse in English, which is a popular one example of a translated incident or anything like that, versus how you believe it is better interpreted from the Sanskrit itself?
I mean, I wasn't anticipating this question. That's a very good question, actually. But let me think. I think this question that Chandrasekhar asked me earlier, that might be a good instance of this. So in Gita, there is this famous verse called Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturvu mate sangostva karmani. So this actually the very first line, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. If you go by the literal meaning of each of these words, the word adhikara is often translated as the right. Okay, so your right is only to do the duty, to do the work. You have no right to earn any benefit from it. That's what it will come out. And technically it's correct. The dictionary says right. Okay. But the word adhikara as a Sanskrit word has many shades of meaning. So it's not just a right. It is being sort of endowed with the capacity to do it. So adhikara can also mean sort of a precondition or kind of available powers to do things. And the important word there that gets missed in the translation is eva. So what it is saying is you have the capacity, you only have the capacity to do things. Okay. So if it's a matter of rights, your right extends to doing things. And the second word is ma phaleshu kadachana, not no phaleshu kadachana. Ma means do not think of it, don't do it. You may have a right to get the fruit,